On this episode, we begin by departing the harbor in Georgetown as we leave the crowds behind in an attempt to continue on down the thorny path. And after a month of waiting on parts, we sometimes wondered if this day would ever come. We set a course for Calabash Bay at the northwest corner of Long Island, and along the way, caught a nice mahi-mahi. And then caught two more, even bigger than the first. And we were happy campers. It's always nice to have fresh fish on board, and lots of it. And it was a beautiful anchorage, and such a difference to the packed crowds of Georgetown. The next day, we peeked around the north end corner of Long Island en route to Clarencetown. This is the area that separates the puppies from the big dogs. You leave yourself completely exposed to the ferocious Atlantic Ocean. But if you pick a nice weather window and aren't opposed to motoring some, the trips can be pleasant. But once again, and not to outdo ourselves, we caught another mahi-mahi. This one, our biggest one to date. Here, she made a last-ditch effort to shake the hook by going on the opposite side of the boat, and Brandon had to pull her back to the port side without getting caught in the starboard prop and rudder. And this was his first successful gaff. But once we set the anchor in Clarencetown, we went on a little reconnaissance mission to check things out. We saw sheep, the police station.
I guess we should feel safe right here. There's a police station right there.
And the grocery store. We also checked out the trench that led to the old salt ponds.
I wonder if that's freshwater. Oh. Crab? Freshwater crab? It looks bigger from out in the ocean.
And the beautiful old church we saw when we pulled into the bay. And for some reason, it looked bigger from the sea.
Say a prayer.
2 days later, we rented a car and made the short trip to Dean's Blue Hole, the deepest saltwater sinkhole in the world at 663 feet. And to our surprise, we had the place to ourselves. We swam, snorkeled, and jumped, as Justin continuously reminds me that we only live once. But after the wind settled down a bit, we continued our journey southeast towards Crooked Island, and we motored straight into the wind for a few hours to gain a better angle. We then hoisted the sails and set a course southeast. although the seas weren't the smoothest we'd ever seen, it was still nice to be sailing. Catching another massive mahi-mahi made it even that much better. This one even bigger than the others. And the anchorage was sweet. We set the hook and Brandon went hunting. He came back with this huge lobster. But our time there was short. And 2 days later, we picked up the hook and headed towards Planet Key to spend the night at another comfortable anchorage. And while we were there, got a couple of visitors right off the back of the boat, some nice-sized Caribbean reef sharks looking for our dinner scraps. The next morning, we sailed over to Mayaguana for a quick nap and pulled anchor at 2 o'clock in the morning with our sights set on the Turks and Caicos.
About 8 miles away from Turks and Caicos, and it's time to take down our Bahamian flag and put up our Turks and Caicos quarantine flag. And for some reason, I just wanted to film this moment. I think deep down, I never really thought we'd make it this far, and now we had made it all the way past the Bahamas. And it was especially sweet knowing that we didn't have much of an idea what we were doing when we left. It was a good day, and something that we all took a little pride in. We checked into the country at Southside Marina, where we ran into quite a few other cruisers that we had met at Georgetown that were also making their way down the path. It's kind of neat running into familiar people. Even if you don't know them personally, it's nice to see familiar boats. While we were there, Steve from Sailing Vessel Uno helped us sort out our spinnaker, as we had no idea what we had or even how to set it.
But basically, you've got this kind of halyard, and it pulls this right up, just like that. So yeah. If you go like that, it wants to take it up. That's just the bottom, and once it's up, you pull it down with this one. And this, by the way.
The next day, we motored across the banks in preparation for the long haul to the Dominican Republic. And then the sunset, marking the beginning of our first night crossing in almost 3 months.
Alright, well, it's our first major night crossing since we actually left Florida, our dock in Key West. So It's our Key West to Key Largo overnighter. This is our first one. It's 11 o'clock at night, and we're heading from Turks and Caicos to the Dominican Republic. Where we are now, I have a bunch of different routes on there, but we left up in here today. Left Provo over here, and we motored all across the banks, all the way out. We motored over to here. This is our little trail right here. This is the trail we took, this little black line. And as soon as we got to here, we turned southeast and hoisted the sails. And we've been actually making about, right now we're making 5.7 knots under full sails, and doing pretty good. That's Turks, and then there's DR, and that's where we're going. It says we'll be there in 10 hours and 33 minutes at 5.5 knots. So hopefully everything goes okay through the night. Later. Anyway, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, about 40 to 50 miles away from Dominican Republic, and saw something show up on my radar that when you see lights on the horizon, it kind of freaks you out because there is no moon tonight. So I started tracking them on my radar. It's a huge, huge ship. And now my chart plotter locked up, which always freaks me out. Oh great, it's rebooting. Yeah, I think we're back. I'm gonna go track this guy. I got this big old ship right here. Over there. Alright. Well, since my chart plotter rebooted, and I gotta go make sure my autopilot's going where I want it to. So anyway, I'll check back later.
And then it's always nice to see the sun after a long and very dark night crossing.
Welcome to the DR.
I've read after you spent a long time in the Bahamas where dirt doesn't exist, that by the time you get close to the DR, the smell of dirt and trees can be powerful, that it can overload the senses miles offshore. But I didn't find that experience to be true. There was a faint smell of earth that we could detect, but it was only faint. But what was really nice was to finally see mountains covered with trees, a huge contrast from the Bahamas. And that was enough for me. We had made the dreaded and feared crossing to the DR, and we were all still in one piece. And it felt really, really kick-ass. next time on Catch and Raise. We visited 27 waterfalls. We ride the gondola all the way up the side of a mountain. And on our way to Puerto Rico, we get a welcoming committee of dolphins at the bow.
But that's for next time.
We can do a couple takes.
Are we on yet?
Yeah.
Are we recording?
Yes. And it's got a back, but you still have to talk loud.
The friendliest, most beautiful people.
And then you can do a land ho.
Land ho. Justin ho.
Get on deck.
Oh, hi. Wait, popcorn though.
Oh no. Well, hold on, Justin. They're eating popcorn.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to, Brandon.
You can go ahead and pause.
Don't worry about it.
You can go ahead and pause that. I'm dying of thirst. And then, it's always nice to see the sun after a very dark
I'll let you read this.
night. I don't want to.
It's okay, I'm still recording, bro. Just don't worry about it.
Well, I told you to pause it.
I can't pause it. I can't do this when you're sitting here. Why can't you just wait for 2 minutes?
Because I'm freaking my...
Dang.